Welcome back to the pipeline. Very exciting episode here. This is the first episode of season 3. Very excited to kick it off with special guest Scott Herman, co-founder of WAGMI Games, and of course, Kevin at Intern, the co-host. Welcome and welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Season 3. Let's go.
Season 3. Hard to believe. Feels like we just got started, but really pumped for this one. This is actually our first conversation about Web3 gaming and an awesome guy to speak about it here. Scott, welcome. Thanks for coming on. Would love to hear a little bit about your background, anything that you're willing or interested to share.
Yeah, I'd like for you guys to have a season 4, so there's some things I guess I won't tell you about my background. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Danny, was so great to meet you at ETH Denver. Finally connect. I'm just really tired of meeting people for the first time in real life that are always taller than me. If Kevin, if you could be 5'10" or shorter when we meet in person, that would be great.
I will try my hardest.
But for those of you listening, my name is Scott Herman. I'm one of the co-founders of WAGMI Games. My official title is VP of Strategic Partnerships. I've been working on our mobile defense game for about 2.5 years. And before that, a lot of you listening right now may have actually known me from my YouTube fitness channel, Scott Herman Fitness, where I taught educational content on health and fitness for the past 13 years, over a decade, which is really insane to say. Looking back on when it all started, it kind of seems like it was yesterday. But my background in fitness, I grew that channel to over 3 million subscribers, got myself that big gold YouTube button hanging in my gym, which is a lot of fun. My entire life, I've always had a passion for fitness and gaming and pretty much all things anime and collecting and comic books and things like that. It's just, I was born in 1984, so there wasn't really a lot of options to make a living in gaming aside from coding, right? Like there is today. So I leaned into what I was, really good at and what could provide me a living, which was fitness. And then about 2.5 years ago, I saw a huge opportunity in Web3 with obviously, the rise of NFTs and owning your assets. And I said, you know what, here's my chance to finally build a legacy in my second passion, which is gaming. And now we're here.
Here we are.
I would
Beautiful story.
I'd love to hear if there's any overlap, right? I don't think that you see a lot of very successful people in the fitness industry transition to crypto and gaming. But it definitely makes for a creative and intriguing background to push in. So yeah.
What's funny is I get asked this question a lot, like, how did you get into gaming if you're a fitness guy? And I mean, the short answer is when I was getting bullied in second grade, I just thought if I got big and strong, like all my favorite superheroes, I could just beat the shit out of my bullies and they'd leave me alone.
There you go.
Second grade mentality. And my favorite superheroes were Captain America and Superman and Wolverine. It's an interesting trio. And I just thought, okay, if I got big and strong, I could protect myself and, my friends. Or, I just always had a knack, or I always had a mission to protect myself and people who couldn't protect themselves, right? And I probably got that from reading all my comics and collecting my superhero cards and things like that. And so it's almost like comics and anime and gaming got me into fitness versus the other way around, which is, I guess, where it stemmed from. And my whole life, that was always just like my passion was fitness and gaming together. And I always noticed, too, in the fitness industry, obviously, I focused more on the education, right? I never competed on stage. I never really had any interest in doing things like that. I always played sports growing up. I did soccer. I did wrestling. I did baseball. I did some, ultimate kickboxing for a while when I was in college. But, I never really cared for, competing on stage. I've stayed natural my entire fitness career, too, because I was always in it for the health and education and helping others reason, which is why my channel probably grew so much. So, yeah, I guess for me, I'm kind of an anomaly, right? Because I've been to, for example, like I'll go to Comic Cons and things like that. I went to a Kamea Con, the first one they had in Texas a couple years ago, dressed as Broly, and I had this killer suit made, right, with this like wig that was it cost me like $300 just for the hair because it was just made so well. And I made friends with this group of people, and they were like, we're all chatting about anime and things, and I'm actually participating in the conversations, and they looked at me like, oh, we just thought you were like some dude who worked out who just wanted to walk around with his shirt off, just as Broly. And I was like, well, yes, but also I do consume quite a bit of anime myself. You can't fake 30 years or so of consuming this type of content, which, moving now into this realm, it's funny, you might not think it, but, a lot of the people that grew up watching my content and a lot of the people that learned how to exercise in the gym are in this space. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times I'll be on a meeting, doesn't matter who they are, where they live in the world. At one point, they'll kind of stop and be like, I think you taught me how to bench press when I was in high school. And I was like, yes, I did. And it's like, it all goes full circle. My mission of teaching fitness to the world, I can now tell worked, right? And these people now that have learned from me growing up that are in this Web3 space, they want to talk to me. They want to see what I'm doing, what I'm building. And there's already a level of trust that's been established, which is really hard to find in Web3. And it's probably one of the hardest things is to find a team that's not going to, rug, or a team that's actually going to deliver on a product. And so it's helped me tremendously in this space. You wouldn't think so. It makes sense, I guess, when I say it out loud, but yeah, the level of trust and my network has expanded so fast. I think just because I help people reach their fitness goals when they're in high school and college, and now they're here.
Yeah, it's funny. Captain America, Superman, Wolverine, they all have one thing in common, and that they're absolutely shredded. So yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
Way more shredded over time too.
Yeah. And yes, you see a lot of like professional athletes really like video games in general. So I actually thought it was, and it's mostly because they go and they train and they exercise, and then you basically need something to do when you're resting. So I half expected to be like, well, after a 3-hour leg day, like you got to do something. So that's where the video games come in.
Yeah. Well, I guess my friends growing up, we were always into cars and video games, right? My group of friends weren't really into the gym the way I was. Maybe they'd work out here and there. The gym was like my thing. But every weekend, we all go to my buddy Joe's house, my buddy Mike's house, and it was video games all day, working on cars all day. Back when you actually installed like stereo systems and things like that, and did your own work on your cars. That's what we did, and I think that's why we're actually so close as a group of friends even today, because I still have my 10 to 12 friends that I grew up with since high school, right? And a lot of people they barely have one or two friends they've had since high school now. Or if anything, any friends at all, because this whole Tik Tok and culture of consuming content has basically consumed their lives, and they haven't been able to build really big relationships. But man, I tell you, you play video games with your friends and you talk smack, right? Like that's how you really bond. That's why sports teams do so well, because you're just together all the time. You're talking smack, you're getting to know each other. It's a part of life. It's a good part of life.
Yeah. And I want to point out something else that you said, right? Where you'll be on calls and you've already established this level of trust with a large amount of people, right? 3 million subscribers. That's a massive channel. And it's something that, crypto is built on this ethos of don't trust, verify. And there have been, outputs of that have been like the anon culture in crypto being like extremely prevalent. And it's something that's super important to like the crypto community overall, but it also has downsides, right? Where if you are building a project and all of the team is anonymous, right? It's very hard to trust that these like random people on the internet that you will not show their face or say what their name is. And you just have to like trust that they're not doing something sketchy in the background. A lot of the times when, rugs or exploits do happen, the team is anonymous. So yeah, it's almost like a reverse anon mindset, which like you do have this level of trust, right? You take on personal risk if anything goes wrong. And I think that can actually help a lot in helping to grow like a project that you're working on. It's something that you don't see a lot of in crypto.
I
Yeah,
think we're
very
one of the
cool
few
to
groups
see how that works.
at WAGMI Games. I think, Kevin, we're one of the few teams that has been not anonymous, has actually been, doxxed the entire time. I can understand if you're building technology that's going to disrupt the government. Maybe you want to remain anonymous while you do that. But if you're building a video game, I mean, okay, bro, like it's okay for us to know who you are. It's not, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? It's not a big deal, bro.
100%.
Take
100%.
down
Like
that cartoon PFP. Let's see your face.
that was one of the biggest things when I first discovered WAGMI Games. It was such a consolation to see like you have this face of the brand as a streamer and a longtime content creator. It was very easy for me to feel like I already knew you, and then we hopped on a call and met up at ETH Denver, and those personal relationships are very powerful in business, whether it's crypto or outside of crypto. And kind of looping back to what we were talking about before, like the overlap between fitness and Web3, it's really interesting because I think content creators and the ability for now anyone to create content has really pushed both of those spaces forward. And particularly on the video game side of things, it's almost made video gaming a lot cooler for the general person to be able to look up to all these gamers across the world playing games and streaming content. That was one of the ways that I personally found and discovered Web3 gaming, and it actually made crypto really click for me. To understand that there's games out there where I could have ownership of my own assets and custody of those assets and potentially even interoperability across different games. Would love to hear how you got into the Web3 or crypto side of gaming as well, Scott.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I've been a gamer my whole life. I actually had a gaming channel where I would stream some mobile games that I played, Call of Duty, Destiny, Zelda, things like that. And I was doing that for fun alongside doing my fitness channel. And then that kind of stopped when I moved to Florida, just because moving from New Hampshire to Florida was a monumental task. And then we built a house here that was supposed to be done in a month when we got down here. Then we got down here and realized that it was not going to be done in a month. 9 months later, we moved in. Yeah, the fitness channel, obviously I had to prioritize, but the gaming one I had to kind of let it just kind of simmer because I didn't have the time nor the resources nor the setup to actually do that one. But what I really enjoyed about doing the gaming channel, especially the mobile game that I played, I still play it today. It's called Dokkan Battle. It's a Dragon Ball Z game. I really enjoyed just being online with the community, chatting back and forth and collaborating with other creators and doing fun events and things like that. And what's cool about mobile games is a lot of them just that aren't super. You don't need to be paying a ton of attention to them, right? You can still kind of casually chat with your audience while you're playing them, which is what I really like. When I came on board with WAGMI and I saw what their vision was for building out a mobile game, 3-minute game loop, strategy, I could see a community rallying behind this type of gameplay because we've seen it many times before in other games. And what used to always kind of bother me about playing Dokkan Battle was I would do a lot of videos where I would summon for characters on new banners that would come out, right? And I would spend a lot of money to do these summons because those videos would get the most views. And then I would always find myself having, extra characters of the best characters in the game that I could not even, give away if I wanted to. So I'd have like duplicates of all the top characters while my community would be watching and saying things like, "Man, you're so lucky. I wish I, could get at least one copy of that character." And I just kind of always thought to myself, this is so stupid that I just can't send this out or give it away or do a contest. And once I learned what NFTs were, it like instantly made sense to me that gaming was the way forward. NFTs can have many use cases. The only use case that I can see working at this very moment on a massive scale is in gaming, because being able to own your assets, and for gamers, like, we don't necessarily even care about what we can sell it for or buying it, right? A lot of the times trading is what entices a lot more people. I mean, think about growing up and collecting Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering, right? Like, you would trade with your friends. You weren't wheeling and dealing on the school, school playground, right? It was kind of like, I'll trade you these two for that one type of thing. So even our approach with WAGMI has always kind of been along the lines of like doing giveaways with the NFTs on every single stream that we have, and encouraging people to friend each other and trade with each other. And then, of course, they want to buy and sell, they can do that as well. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was okay. This makes sense because ever since I could remember, I've wanted to be able to own my assets in game. And there's been a lot of games that I just stopped playing because I didn't have the time. So I really used to enjoy playing Destiny with my friends. I did not have the time to sit down and grind out the raid weapons. So I just stopped playing Destiny. And if I could just spend $20 and buy the weapon I needed, I would do that because I have a great job, that affords me the opportunity to have a good life. And if I want to spend $20 versus 8 hours of my time, right, getting a specific weapon, I would just spend the $20.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I mean, very similar path for me in terms of understanding Web3 gaming, but also, crypto and self-custody of these assets, having grown up seeing people trade RuneScape gold, for example, and more
Yeah.
recently CSGO skins and all sorts of things like that, where you just don't have the ownership or the control at the end of the day. You're going to some third party website, and the risk of scams is very high. So I think a lot of people understand the ideals of Web3 gaming, but thus far in practice, it hasn't necessarily played out the way people thought. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding for or in terms of how hard it actually is to build a game and how much time and development effort that takes. But would love to hear your take on, what is the state of Web3 gaming right now, and where do you think it's going over the next couple of years?
Yeah. So it definitely takes a while to build a game. I think any studio at this point that says they're building more than one game at a time, just run away as fast as you can, because because we've been building WAGMI Defense for about 2.5 years. We're just now finally getting ready to go toward, move into global launch. And it's not because we've been dragging our feet or doing this thing slow. Like, it takes time to build a good quality game. A lot of these other Web3 brands that are just pumping out games, I mean, they're reskins or they're repurposed IP, right? Like, that's all they are. And it's easy to see that. It might sound cool. Hey, we have 100 games and you can play these games. It's like, I'm a gamer, dude. I'm not going to sit there and play shitty games just to maybe earn some token, right? Like, I have better uses of my time, especially when there's so many other cool games that I can play on console or PC right now. So, for me, being a gamer myself, to want to move into a new game, there has to be a very good reason, right? Just making another version of a game that already exists, you might think that that's a good strategy moving forward. How are you going to convince someone who's playing what would be basically the same exact game on their mobile device already? Let's take Clash of Clans, for example. Why would I want to stop my Clash of Clans account that I've been building for the last 6 years? And I have my, one of the top town halls, all my troops are leveled up. At this point, I've probably spent a few hundred, maybe a few $1,000s in gems. Why would I give all that up just to play a game that's exactly like it? And I can earn some pennies for playing, right? And start over at level 1. All my friends are on the first game. There's already an established ecosystem. There's already esports around it. You have to have a very compelling reason for someone to pick up a new game, especially in mobile. And so at WAGMI Games, for our first title, WAGMI Defense, like, we've really thought about these things. And something that we did about a year ago that we think a lot of the gaming studios in Web3 should adopt is, I mean, you need to get guys on your team that have built games in the past and have delivered games in the past and that know how to build out these ecosystems to keep the core game loop fun. working on things like your first time user experience, making sure that your tutorial's not too long, making sure you can even skip your tutorial. Like there's certain things that you can do to a game outside of even the core game loop to ensure that when someone downloads it and starts playing it for the first time, they don't delete it immediately, right? Something that we're focusing on is also lore and original characters. We actually have an anime that we've been working on that we're going to be showing probably in the next month or so, right? It's part of our marketing plan leading towards global launch. We have comic books. We have all of our characters, the lore, the story all fleshed out so that can also feed into the game. When you have great characters and a great story and a great game, and those things are working together, you're now letting your players build an attachment to specific characters, and that's going to keep them coming back as well. Doing things like live ops is super important, and these have to be planned out weekly or bi-weekly. And live ops are just kind of like campaign events that run week to week, whether it's for a new character or a new skin or a certain upgrade ability, whatever it might be. Maybe the story progresses forward, and so you release a new map, right? And it kind of centers around the story progressing forward. Like there's a lot of different things that you have to think about when delivering a game other than just like, hey, it has NFTs in it. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, it's clear that, on multiple levels, your team has thought through what it takes to actually present a fun experience to a player who's like traditionally a gamer. Certainly in Web3 or crypto gaming, not all of these games are actually targeted at gamers. There's a lot of token first, NFT sale first before they've even shown any hint of a product. So would love to hear from your experience, what are the challenges of building a game in the early stages of quote unquote crypto gaming while still targeting these, traditional true gamers?
So I would say one of the first issues was just getting the 3-letter bad word, out of people's mouths, right? Because traditional gamers, when they first were introduced to NFTs, I think a lot of them just got rubbed the wrong way. I mean, we saw it all over the internet. South Park even did a really great episode where Butters was just selling NFTs to people, screwing them over, and kind of just painting this picture of like, selling NFTs is just finding a sucker to buy it at a higher price than, what you did, right? And for a lot of NFT collections, unfortunately, that's true because sure, art is great, but, at least if I have a painting or something, I can hang it on my wall. So I think it's different in that sense. Anyways, we won't get into that right now, but, what we've had to do is really make sure that we focused on game first and then Web3 elements. And I think that in the future, as NFTs and token integration becomes much more normalized, just like everything in gaming, like everything new in gaming, gamers hate. Like gamers hated battle passes. Now it's the standard. Gamers hated, well, I don't think they hated playing online, but everything new, like microtransactions, right? When microtransactions first came out, gamers were like, that's stupid. Why would I spend $2 on a mobile game, right? Now, literally, like, look at how much money I've spent on Dokkan Battle. It's probably, 10 to 20 grand over the last 7 years making content. You spend more money on these types of things. Look at these kids spending like $14,000 on Minecraft or Roblox, right? And you hear these stories because the game loop is addictive and you want these things in game. And when you're a kid, you don't know any better, right? So gamers, there's always pushback on something new. The current pushback is tokens in the game as well as NFTs. So you have to ease these players into that. And so what we believed at WAGMI Games with our first game, WAGMI Defense, like, okay, let's focus on creating an amazing game first. Let's make sure the core game loop is fun. Let's make sure the lore is amazing. And asset ownership is something on the back end that's added extra that's fun. In fact, when you download WAGMI Defense from the App Store and start playing, most people won't even know it's a Web3 game. And as you collect the characters and open your loot crates and your daily war chests and things like that, all the characters you're getting are NFTs. And again, like unless you know they're NFTs when you play the game, you just think you're collecting characters. And when you're upgrading them, you'll just think that you're upgrading characters. It's only then later when we educate you, like, oh, by the way, you can go to this third-party website and you can sell or trade, that you start to realize, oh, I actually own these assets. People are already used to buying tokens in game. They have COD points, they have V-Bucks and all these different things, right? So if you're going to introduce a game with a token and NFTs, I think you need to do it in a way where it comes across as just something that they're already used to doing, which is collecting characters and, buying a token that can be used to buy stuff in the game.
So one question that I think you probably uniquely positioned to answer, people mostly interact, or the vast majority of people interact with crypto through desktop. The vast majority of people do not interact with games through desktop, right? It's mostly mobile and console for kind of like mainstream adoption type games. So we'll love to hear how you think. Do you think because of this, the mobile gaming side of crypto is somewhat underserved? Or do you think that that's like an opportunity in that the gaming side of crypto kind of tends to converge with where the gamers currently are and where people like playing?
So we actually identified very early on that there was this just big gap in mobile gaming and crypto. Everyone was trying to build like the most beautiful PC metaverse, which is great, don't get me wrong, but not if you're in a country where you don't even have the newest iPhone, right? Or even the newest iPhone for the last 2 or 3 years. Can't afford a PC in your home. Mobile is global. 53% of all the money made in gaming is from mobile devices. And so we identified that from the very beginning, and that's why our first title is a mobile game, because if we want mass adoption, we have to go to where the masses are, and that's on mobile devices. Also, if you're going to be on mobile and you want mass adoption, your game has got to be free to play, period. If your game costs even $1 to do anything to be able to play and be competitive, you're going to miss out on a whole wide range of people. And it's not because they don't have the money. It's just because they're not going to spend money on a game unless they're playing it, their friends are playing it, their community's playing it, right? And it's competitive and fun. Then maybe they'll spend some money on it. But you have to have a fun core game loop. You have to have good story. You have to have good lore. And the game has to be fun. And then eventually, players will want to spend money on it. Like all the mobile games that I have, I never spent money on them until I played them for at least, I don't know, a month, maybe 2 months to make sure I really liked it and that I could make sure that I can be competitive and be in a competitive atmosphere with that game. So we went to mobile straight away, and it's just interesting now because you see a lot of other new games popping up, and they're like, "We're building on mobile." It's like just happen to want to be doing that with the bull market here, so they're rushing out their tokens and they're rushing out these NFT sales, right? And they're not even anywhere close to having a mobile game done yet or even built. But that's what happens during a bull market, and you have to be careful of that. So a lot of people are starting to understand now why mobile gaming is so important and why it's going to be probably what really catapults Web3 games into the forefront and gets these types of games in traditional gamers' hands. But yeah, it's a great question, Kevin. It's something that we identified very early.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about the mobile side of things, particularly in the US. A lot of people don't think of it as quite as prominent as it truly is globally. But when you hop on a train, hop on a plane, walk through a public place, you're almost always going to see someone playing a mobile game. And certainly that's even more prevalent globally, where people don't necessarily have access to consoles or PCs that are able to run these games. I think we've also talked, Scott, about the friction of playing a new game and the fact that you have a huge drop off in users for every new step you introduce for a user to sign up. And with crypto and wallet access, that's usually a tough point of friction, because if you require a user to download a game, create an account, sign in, then go create a wallet, copy down a seed phrase, connect that wallet to the game, put some gas token in that wallet. That's like, I don't even know, 9 steps that every single player has to do. I know you guys have a different approach to that, and you're also integrating many different blockchains. So would love to hear how that strategy came to be and, why you chose to stick with that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Danny. One thing to add too for playing on a mobile device worldwide, you also have to make sure that the way your game is built, that the file size isn't too big. Because if you want to make sure that your game is playable on older devices, I mean, you can't be coming out of the gate with a 10 gig phone game, right? You want like 256 megabytes, and then maybe there's some updates along the way. So those are things you have to think about too. As far as the process of signing up and playing, we've been able to drastically simplify that process to the point to where most people, again, they won't even know that they're playing a crypto game. So for WAGMI Defense, you'll download from the App Store, you'll log into the game, and you can choose even to log in as a guest if you want to. But if you log in with your email, so whatever email you use for the App Store on iOS or Android, as soon as you log in with that email, because we're partnered with Immutable X or Immutable now, as soon as you log in with that email, a wallet is created for you in their passport system. And what makes this so easy and so streamlined is that if you wanted to then trade or buy or sell your NFTs, you can just go to a website like Token Trove, which is a secondary marketplace, and all you have to do is log in with that same email, and it's connected right to your account. So you don't have to remember seed phrases, you don't have to do any of those things. It's all attached to that email. And what's even more great about that is if I want to say stream, or if I just want to play my game on my computer, I can just download, like I have an emulator called BlueStacks on my computer. So I can just log into the game with my email, and now I have my account and all my assets. Or if I'm going from Android to iPhone, I can just log in with my email and I have all of my assets. Most people probably aren't aware of this because they probably don't, jump from phone to phone too often, but my Dokkan Battle game, for example, I can't log into the same account on Android that I have on my iPhone because it's two different marketplaces. So I think at one point I did switch from an iPhone to an Android, and I had to play the game on my iPhone, like connected to the internet, or else I would have lost all my data in my account, which is crazy. There's even things like that you have to think about, and I feel like Web3 simplifies all of that.
Definitely. Definitely. It simplifies it dramatically, especially, when you take the right steps to set up that user flow in a logical way. And, one thing that I was excited to hear is that, on the back end, you're interested and seemingly quite excited to integrate quite a few different chains. At Monad, we're certainly really excited about Web3 gaming, and from an infrastructure standpoint, quite well positioned to support games that are quite robust on chain, given the throughput and speed of Monad's blockchain, given gas fees at a fraction of a cent, given even future features we'll introduce to support that user flow. So, would certainly be excited to integrate WAGMI Defense and other games down the line as well. But what has been your strategy for a multi-chain approach?
Yeah, I mean, so basically finding chains that have everything that you just described. If we're gonna have our game on multiple chains, there needs to be either gasless or as close to zero as possible with the ability to mint these NFTs. Again, like if you want a mass adoption to a game, you can't be charging your customers to get assets that normally would be free in a traditional Web2 game. So being able to go chain to chain, and also getting these chains to work with each other is another task that we've been working on. I mean, we've already built out the back end bridging system so that if you're on Monad or Immutable or Base or Solana, whatever the chain might be, and you want to trade assets with someone on a different chain, you can do that. And if you weren't able to do that, that's going to completely disrupt the economy when you start getting global mass adoption, because you don't know what chain people are going to be on. And if there's a specific card they want at a certain level and rarity, and it's only and the person who owns it is on a different chain, you can't get it, like that's disheartening. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing, right? So yeah, being able to identify chains that are focused on, gasless minting and trading of the NFTs is number one. Number two, we like working with people that answer their DMs. I think we had a conversation about that.
100%.
Quite a few people out there that don't answer their goddamn DMs. And I am going to absolutely just throttle them when they finally do reach out and be like, well, we could have been working together, but you don't answer your DMs. Why are you even on Twitter, bro? Just get off.
It reminds me of, I was in 6th grade when Modern Warfare 2 was like in its heyday and truly ripping. One of the best gaming experiences, like to date for me, like that and Fortnite probably take the cake. But I had PlayStation and all of my buddies had Xbox, and there was no cross-platform. So that there was like fragmented player base, and I feel like that's very analogous to like if you could only trade with people that had assets directly on the chain that you use.
Console wars.
Yeah, one of my favorite updates from Fortnite is when you could join lobbies with anyone, right? You could play with Xbox, mobile, PlayStation, everything on the same. And it just made the game way, way more frictionless. Like, oh, you play Fortnite? Good. We can all play together. Like there was no, I have PlayStation 4 and my 10-year-old cousin plays on an iPad. It was very, one of my favorite spots. So yeah, I think that is going to be something that like also adds to the user experience, right? You're not fragmenting based on like console wars or based on which chain you use. Anyone can play, and if you have the asset, then it's seamless.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, granted, I hate playing against PC players when I play Call of Duty. Any baby can use a mouse and keyboard. Let's see you use a controller. I always get under people's skin when they only play mouse and keyboard. They're like, you have auto aim or aimbot. I'm like, okay, bro, if that's what you think, you can literally point your mouse at what you want to shoot. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, I can
handle
remember
the sticks.
I can remember very clearly playing Fortnite all throughout COVID with Intern, and that was our number one excuse if we ever did happen to get eliminated. Oh, that guy's on PC. He's mouse and keyboard.
PC player.
Differently,
Yeah.
PC player.
Well, yeah, because when you get in a lobby, that's just console versus console, it's very different. That's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
So, Scott, yeah, one of the main things that actually overlap a lot between crypto gaming and an L1 is the importance of community, right? Community is everything for a layer one, right? Everyone who uses your blockchain is your community. Same thing with gaming, right? Everyone who plays your game is your community, and they want to be able to play with each other, right? So strong network effects, having everyone excited about the same thing does a lot for the overall kind of success and mission of the project. We'd love to hear about how you guys actually think about community and like how important is community for WAGMI Games, and what are some of the things that you guys have done in the past to help strengthen it?
Yeah, I mean, what's one of the best things about Web3 is that, you're literally, 2 degrees, a lot of times 1 degree away from being in contact with the founders or the CEO of a company, right? I know myself and our CEO, Ian, and the rest of the team, we're always available in Telegram. We're always available in Discord. We answer our DMs on Twitter. And for the last 2.5 years, every single Wednesday, so what is that, like over 100, WAGMI Wednesdays that we've done, every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we chat for an hour. If there's news, we talk about the news and all the hype and excitement. If there's nothing going on, which there was a lot of nothing happening during the bear market while we were building, we would still show up every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, just to chat with the community, let them know what we're working on, what we've been building, to really establish a line of communication and show them that, like, hey, we're here, we're not going anywhere. Earlier we talked about being doxxed and not being anonymous. I think the next step from that is just being very vocal and communicative on a weekly basis. And if you can't make it to the WAGMI Wednesday Twitter space, well, it's recorded and we re-upload it to YouTube. So there's always this line of communication that's open. In fact, we had some people trying to FUD us a couple months ago, and they're like, "Oh, I always ask questions on WAGMI Wednesday, and you don't answer me, and you ignore me." And I'm just like, really? Why don't you just let me know which one it is? Here's the playlist of every WAGMI Wednesday for the last 2 years. And obviously they couldn't, because they were just talking shit. And when it comes to community building, when I first started doing my YouTube channel, Scott Herman Fitness, I built that channel one subscriber at a time. I think I am in a very interesting position being a creator and co-founder. I think I'm probably the only one in Web3. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I am the only one. So, like, when I first started making my YouTube videos in 2009, I would go back to every single video and I would reply to every comment. And then I would come back the next day and see if there's any comments that I missed. And then I would answer those, and then I would go to other comments I had already replied to, and then I would reply again. Because remember, my content was educational, and YouTube was new. And so I had a lot of people asking questions about their fitness goals, a lot of questions that didn't even have anything to do with the video, but they were still fitness related. And so I'd go back and answer them. And it was interesting because I had just gotten off of The Real World on MTV. And back in the day, it was actually cool to get hired to like do appearances at bars and clubs and things like that. And so I was doing like these appearances on the weekends at bars and clubs for like $1,500, $2,000. And that was paying my bills. And then I would literally be on my computer 8 to 9 hours a day going through all of my videos, responding to people's comments and replying to new ones. And that's how I built my community. Like, I literally built it one person at a time. And so I saw my community go from like single digits to 2 digits, and being so friggin' excited that I had 10 subscribers, and then so excited at 100 subscribers, and so excited when I had 1,000 subscribers, right? Like, this was something that didn't exist yet, right? I was the first person to be a fitness influencer to actually get like a sponsorship deal with a supplement company, BSN. I was with them for 13 years. Like, this stuff didn't exist. And that's why I get so vocal when people don't answer their DMs, because I literally built my entire life and business off of just being in my DMs and talking to people. Like, the reason why you go into a business is because you want to sell a product to a customer. The customer is a real person. You want to expand your network, you need to be available and willing to talk to people. And it's like, think about the time before social media. Like, you would be so happy if somebody just walked through your door, or if you met someone at a party, right? Now we live in a world where people are able to just kind of reach out to you on a whim, and you just ignore them because you're a dumbass. Like, you have like all this free customers and free networking opportunities coming to your door. And you're like, "Oh, sorry, bro, I'm so busy. I can't even like get in there and answer my DMs." And I'm like, well, you're going to get left behind. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of my core network that I've actually worked with to build my empire with, I met these people just from like being in the comment section and answering my DMs. In fact, my business partner, Costas, who helped me build Scott Herman Fitness to the 3 million subscribers, and everything that we did there. I met him because I noticed one day some dude was answering questions in the comment sections of my videos and was smart. And I was like, hey, you're really smart. Do you want to do this thing with me? It's a lot of work. It's like, sure, right? And then that's how I met Costas. And we've been now best friends ever since. My graphics guy, he's probably the richest guy in Morocco because I've been paying him for 13 years very well because he does amazing graphic art. Now he does all the graphic art for WAGMI, and the list goes on. And so when I say I understand how important it is to community build, I practice what I preach. I mean, I'm in probably 6 different Discord groups for Big Time because I play Big Time quite a bit. And I've made so many friends in the Web3 space just from joining other communities and playing games I'm interested in. And I don't go in these communities like, hey, what's up, guys? Want to play my game? Like, I don't even bring it up. Maybe until a friendship is established or someone asks, like, oh, what do you do in Web3? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I have a game. Actually, I was playing big time the other day, and I was just running portals with this dude, and he's like, oh, like, are you really into Web3? I was like, yeah, I'm a co-founder of a project. He's like, oh, which project? I'm like, oh, WAGMI Games. He's like, oh, shit, I fucking tried WAGMI Games. I was like, yeah, that's mine. Let's just go kill these fucking bugs or whatever. Like community building, you just got to come across as a real person. You just got to come across as, one of the guys, I guess is the way to say it, right? Like, you just need to be yourself because you can't fake that type of thing. And if you think that, look at Hollywood. If you're a dickhead, no one cares. Like, back in the day, it was cool to be unobtainable, right? It was like, ooh, they're so mysterious. Now they're like, ooh, you're a jackass. Like, you know what I mean?
I think
like,
there's, yeah, the one-on-one resonates a lot. I think it's something that, we've been pushing on the community front, like the importance of this for, 16 months now. And it goes to show, right? Like, our community is some of the strongest, bonds that have existed around a crypto project ever.
Yeah,
and
man,
it's because we like, I don't know, you look at other projects, they're like, oh, there's, 40,000 people are excited about this. I could never talk to all of them. So I'm just going to do like things that scale to everyone and we'll just leave it at that. We'll have 2 people in the community and they'll just kind of handle everything on that front. And we've spent a lot of time and resources, honestly, like having 6 people that are constantly in the community. Like, our CEO will join the Discord and engage with all of the community members. Like, it's a very one-to-one relationship, which goes a long way because not a lot of people do it in crypto. So absolutely, the message that you have resonates with us. Also, I know we have just a few minutes here. We have a question, again, shamelessly ripped from Up Only. It is the final alpha that we like to ask any guest as their kind of departure statement. It doesn't have to be crypto related. It's really something that you've picked up along the way in your journey, right? You have a background that, not many other people can say that they have, right? You might be the only person who's grown a fitness community and then also done the Web3 side to the extent that you have. So yeah, any piece of wisdom, any nugget that you've picked up along your journey, it could be counterintuitive. It could be something that makes any of the listeners healthier, wealthier, or wiser. But it certainly does not have to. So yeah, just, one piece of advice, one thing that you've picked up that, would be a solid kind of closing thought.
Yeah. So I guess I would have to go with, it's kind of along the lines of community building, right? Is like, you literally never know who you're going to meet, who you're talking to, who's going to be the next big thing. And I don't say this in a way that you should just be nice to people because you want to be rewarded later. What I'm really getting at is like, you just don't want to be dismissive of people in general, because in the future, when you need their help, they're going to be like, you're a dick. I don't want to deal with you. Okay. It's always good to put your best foot forward. It's always good to be open-minded. It's always good to, if you're at an event and you're meeting people, shake their hand, look them in the eye, get to know them. My father always taught me, the best way to, make friends and network is to ask questions about other people. Even if you're the one selling something, like, get to know them. Let them tell you what they do, right? By showing interest in others, they will show interest in you. And it's really hard to do that sometimes, because especially if you're trying to build a product and trying to get your name out there, you're just trying to reach out to everyone and be like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Sometimes just take a beat, take a step back, take a time to enjoy life and just get to know people in general, and let the business kind of flow when the opportunity presents itself, right? So it's much more casual and happens much more organically. Like, for example, I hate it when people like do good deeds and then they film it and post it on their social media. It's like, just do the good deed, bro. It's not a filmable event that you need to be posting if you help someone change their tire. just change the tire and then move on with your life, dude. Just be a good person. And it's funny, even in my life, there's been times where I've like helped random people on the side of the road, and then like a few months later, randomly bump into them, and they've helped me with something. Like, it's crazy how life works. So I guess my statement is, and I talk a lot of smack. I'm sure you guys probably thought that as you were listening to this, and it's your first experience with me. That's just because I'm from the Northeast. We just talk a lot of smack, and that's just the way we are. But we're lovable people. We have a good time. I could see Dan. Just be a good person, and just know that if you're a good person and you treat others with respect, you'll get it in kind and back.
Huge, huge. That is a great piece of final alpha. This has been a massive pleasure. Great conversation. I'm having a ton of fun here, so we should definitely run it back soon. Hoping to link up at GDC next week. And, excited for all developments with WAGMI Games and WAGMI Defense. Congrats on the successful launch thus far, and excited to see it go global later this year.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to come back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Talk to you soon, sir.